gonna be a meeting. Yeah. Way over yonder. Where we
won't have to cry no more.
Oh my Lord.
We won't have to cry no more.
I tell you we won't, church.
We won't have to cry no more.
Hello and welcome. It's another episode to Keep It Simple, Sir. Keep It Simple, Senorita. Keep It Simple, Saints. I have the honor with me today. We are talking about women that are making history right here in the city of Dayton. I'm so excited to have with me today. We have the Honorable Dr. Bridget Witherspoon. We have the Honorable Dr. Tiffany Porter joining us by Zoom, and the wonderful Tony Holmes, the Realtor in Blue. I am so excited. Welcome, ladies. Welcome. Just a little bit about yourself, and I just touched the bases. So give a brief introduction of who you are and what you're doing here within our community. Would you like to start?
I will start. As you mentioned, I'm Dr. Bridget Witherspoon. I am currently serving as the Vice President for Enrollment at United Theological Seminary. United Theological Seminary is a seminary that educates pastors for pulpit ministry and also for ordination. And I also am a pastor of the church called Dixon United Methodist Church. And I'm a mother of two and a grandmother of two beautiful granddaughters. So I've been working here, and I was born and raised here in Dayton, Ohio. So they call me the homegirl that made it good.
All right, yes. We have another doctor on Zoom. We're gonna have her introduce herself as well. Would you care? Go right ahead, doctor.
Thank you, and I appreciate the warm welcome. I'm such a hello to the fellow panelists that want making history in our community. I am from Dayton. My parents went to Patterson, and I think our family has been in Dayton for almost like 90 years, I would say. I grew up in a military family, so ended up moving to Germany for 8 years, and then back to another place in Colorado. And for me, I knew that I wasn't going to get what I needed as far as, the cultural experience. I got other people's experience, but not mine. So I, took the leap of faith and jumped in my car with my 2-year-old, and the rest is history. So I am currently in private practice. And I see a variety of people with different presenting problems, and I am a doctor of psychology. So thank you all again.
Thank you. And in front of me, I have the lovely.
Are you ready for my
intro? Yes, I am.
Well, I want to start to say great afternoon and evening, leaders, because we all are leaders. I am your Realtor in Blue, Tony Holmes. Every realtor is different. However, we learn by each other. I am the realtor that promotes building generational wealth by becoming a homeowner, investor. If you are already a homeowner, showing you how to use that property to create that or start it. You cannot name not one trillionaire or millionaire whose fingers are not in real estate. It's bigger than real estate, right? So real estate is everything and everywhere. The world is real estate. We just need to learn how to utilize it, right? Yeah, so my passion is just to pour back into, my passion. My passion, I got into real estate because I wanted to bridge, and I am bridging the housing gap from formerly incarcerated to incarcerated women. Why? Is because I was formerly incarcerated, and the stigma is tough, and it's still tough to this day. But however, when you are that chosen one that did not give up, to keep pushing and create these magnificent connections and resources, then you able to pour into people and give them that hope. So the hope is watching me succeed, and as well as me pouring it back to them.
Awesome, that's beautiful. We want to start off with our scripture as well. Thank you for those lovely introductions. They always go to the virtuous woman, but I went down a little bit further. And I went down to Proverbs 31:25, and it says, strength and honor are her clothing, and she shall rejoice in time to come. I wanted to go further because they always say, oh, the pearls, the rubies. I wanted to go a little bit further because wherever you go, your strength is with you and your honor is with you. So the ladies, I hear you say you have a background here, some of you are from the Dayton area. What have you seen just through your journeys that you've had to hold on to your strength and hold on to your honor to get you here today? So what have you seen? I'll start with you, Dr. Bridget Witherspoon. With your strength, how have you been able to hold on to that strength and honor through all this time and be here today? What do you think has held you on?
Well, I forgot to mention, I just recently wrote a book called Broken to be Saved, The Other Side of the Pit, and this book pretty much tells the journey and how I had to hold on to my strength and honor by knowing who I was as a child of God. I talk about my grandmother's God, I talk about my pastor's God, but until I tapped in to my own relationship with God, I relied on them, and when they were no longer available, I had to learn who I was in Christ Jesus. So that's the reason I was able to hold on to my strength and dignity coming from a traumatic background, childhood. I did my research when I was working on my Doctor of Ministry at United Theological Seminary on post-traumatic stress disorder and making clergy aware of PTSD, because you just don't know who's in the room. And so we talk about this gospel of hope, but sometimes as pastors, and I'm speaking from experience, we don't know who's in the room. And different people need different messages to help them get through traumatic situations. And so I was able to hold on to my strength and dignity by not compromising, knowing who I was as a woman of God, and just keeping my eyes on the prize and know that the end game was for me to be a living testimony to someone who might have come from a similar background.
And I can't wait to hear more about that book. We're going to dive in a little deeper. And but Dr. Porter, what has helped you keep your strength and your honor through these times?
Well, that is such a great question and kind of a long answer. You know a lot about me, but a lot of people don't. I didn't say that when I left Colorado, I was a teen mother. And so basically everybody said I wasn't gonna amount to anything, and I threw my life away. However, when I took that, leap of faith to come back, to where my roots were, I knew that I was gonna accomplish what I had set out to do. So I, started off at Sinclair. I then graduated from Central State, which was probably one of the best times of my life, and I'm so glad I went there. Then I went to UD for my master's, and I would say about halfway through my doctoral program, I was diagnosed with stage 3A breast cancer. And I was only 35 at the time. However, I, stayed the course because I knew that, God and, prayers and, our ancestors, had really wrapped their arms around me. And because of that, I, have continued on in my journey. I did my residency up north in Akron and my fellowship at Case Western. And all of these were just gifts that I had no idea were coming my way. And after that, moved back south, and now I'm seeing, clients and people who, struggle with mental health, issues. And I really love working with our community because it's about time that we are realizing that just because a person experiences mental health, it doesn't mean that they're crazy. The same way if a person experienced a physical health issue. And that's how I try to frame it for, the people that I work with. So, one last thing. I was on the board of directors for the Association of Black Psychologists for 2 years. And it was an honor to serve as the General Assembly Chair for a couple of years. So I feel like I'm really stepping into, my destiny. So thank you for allowing me to share my story.
That is amazing, Dr. Porter, and I'm so happy to know you and your journey and how you're giving back, and just to see you people, you didn't give up on Dayton. You guys are still here. So Miss Tony, the beautiful Tony, what has allowed you to keep you with your strength and the honor you have today? Because we've had some perils, we've had barriers, we all have. But what has allowed you to keep all that beautiful strength and the honor?
My faith. My faith. Once I start believing, can't nothing take me down. My faith. I mean, I don't have nothing more to say. I mean, of course, I have a whole lot to say, but what kept me is my faith, for sure.
And how do we get out to our women? Because you talk about your book that you have. How do we break that and get out and share with other women? Because a lot of times we hold on to ourselves. We may have something, but how do we break? Because I'm not that one. I'll share everything I have, and then people know me of that. But how do we get that, break that stigma? Say, Sister Love, if you need some help, here's some help here. Or I've been through that. Let me share my experiences. But how do we get that out and share? Because we see in our community a lot of our people are hurting. We see a lot of those people hurting. So how can I reach those people and share, here's some of my honor and strength. This is what brought me. So what do you think we need to do? Because we're talking about women making history, but we want to share these gifts and talk about those strengths and how you got that. And that's what I want to talk about, because so many people have been led astray, or people have said, I'm going to help you, and then they turn their backs on them. How do we get that word out to other beautiful sisters that are out there and sharing our experiences? How do you think we can reach others?
Well, we have I have a class, let's say weeks, we have a team that is once a month, every third Thursday of the month. It has not changed. Once every third Thursday of the month. It's called It's Bigger Than Real Estate. See, when you look at a realtor, right, everybody see buying and selling. No. When you come to that class, it could be you talking. Just share, because it's like you said, we don't know. We don't know what's in that room. We don't know what a person, like my biggest pet peeve has been, I could sit amongst this table and be all happy, joy, but I have to go back to reality. What does that reality look like for me, right? So we have these classes at the same place, the Dayton, the West Greater Dayton Incubator, right there in Social Tap, right across the street, right? And we made it convenient for us and others as well, because we don't know what people going through. However, once they come to that class, we give them, of course, the financial freedom speech and the how-tos, but we also give them a little others, like far as pastor, come and talk, and not to lecture no one, not to judge or point no one out, but to really tap into something or be relatable with what they are going through without them actually saying it. So I always say, I was in the leadership program that the city of Dayton offered, and we had to do a project, right? And the project was like, it was a community project. So we thought, our team thought of, how can we, it was something like, can we see you without you saying anything? How do we tap into those people? So we can say social media. We can say meet them where they at, but where are they at? We can say hosting classes. We can say knocking at doors. We can say actually really talking to them, right? But to being all honestly, they have to be ready. They have to want it. Because as long as you keep putting yourself out there, and gossip travels, right? We all know about gossip. Gossip travels. And when they're ready, they know who to contact because of the gossip. They know who to contact. All you can do and how you can reach them is being you. Keep putting your story out there. You keep walking in your truth. You keep showing them that you're relatable. You keep letting them see the bumps and bruises and how you keep getting back up. Because we've been failing since we've been out the womb. We didn't come out the womb walking, talking, eating properly, nor using the restroom. We had to continue to do those things to get better at it, right? So they had to they have to put themselves in that mindset, like, you know what, I'm worthy of that, and I can when I'm ready. Like, everybody is not ready at the same time. That's God's timing.
Being authentic. I hear you saying you have to be the authentic person and not hold the veil up, because a lot of people hide behind masks, but that's how I welcome women, is being authentic, being honest today, being upfront,
Transparent.
and not making those empty promises. Oh, you can, no, letting them know here's what you have. You may have to go over and hurdle, but being authentic today. And the point about this is how we can continue making history. You don't realize every day that you wake up, and the jobs and the roles that you play, you are changing. So just like they said, less than 1% are psychologists. And you correct me if I'm wrong, Dr. Tiffany. I don't see anyone over there at the theological seminary that looks like you, that's in a leader's role. Every last one of you guys, and I don't see a woman say, I am the realtor in blue. I have never seen anyone do that. So with that being said, I say, let's continue to be authentic. And Dr. Porter, you can chime in too. So as you're making forward, and I want to acknowledge you who you are, because I've never seen it, never. And just to be amongst you guys. So how we can continue, and I want to share with our younger people too, because I want to dig into a little bit more what you do. So you not only do the Realtor in Blue, you told me you have something called the nonprofit Make a Sound. I know you have a beautiful book over here that you're talking about, we're going to get into as well. I know Dr. Porter is making leaps and bounds, being part of the, what is it, the 100 Black women, and being that person and being that sound. Today we have a voice, or yesterday we didn't. So how do we continue to make that voice being heard? One thing we say, well, I don't know how, is to do. What I've heard from, we have to do. And I promise you, my father should have worked for Nike. He would say, just do it, but he didn't tell me how. He didn't give me the tools how. Well, how am I supposed to do this? How am I supposed to spread the word? Just do. So be in your position and talk about some of the hurdles, because we want to be authentic today. Talk about maybe what have been some of your battles to getting where you are, and being authentic today. I'll share one of mine. I was told as a woman I should not be leading. Why are you leading? Why would they make a contract with you? Who are you? And I said, I am a child of God. Do you know who I am? And I said, he orders my steps, every one of them. And a lot of times the conflict that we see, we don't have to enter it, because he's going to handle those battles. Because he says the battle is not mine, you know. But I have to understand and sit back and know that he is. So how do I keep encouraging? And one of my barriers was being a female in a leadership role, being educated. Because that's the first thing. Well, who are you? Where did you come from? What do you have to offer? Sharing. I have experience. I have family that's hurt, that has been through these same experiences. And now I want to connect those resources to help them. And I want to wrap them around in love and give them the peace and love. So my obstacles have always been there, but I have someone that's been fighting them for me. So I want to tell you, it has not been easy. And as Dr. Porter says, we've been a part of each other's lives. She's seen the struggle and I have. So what are some of the things that you can tell women, yes, I've been through that, and you still can be here? You ladies jump in, round table, talk to me.
Well, you have to share your story, and don't be afraid to share your story. But as the Realtor in Blue said, they have to be receptive to your story. And I felt like me writing my book was sharing my story, because they look at me as the first African American female vice president in the history of this institution's 150 years.
Wow. That
That was founded by Bishop Wright, who is the father of the Wright brothers. You know, so they look at me and they said, well, how did she get there? You know, I started off as a student, and then I became a work study student. Then they made me a secretary, and then I became a recruiter, then a director of recruiting, and then they finally made me the vice president. Because God tells us your gifts will make room for you. So as a female, you have to know, you don't have to compromise, but know that your gifts will make room for you. And there has been struggles. Not only have I had struggles from my male counterparts, I've had struggles from my female counterparts, because they feel like, well, who are you? why are you the one that they promoted? You know, I'm more articulate than you, I look better than you, you know, I'm more connected than you are. So you have to contend with that. But then you deal, especially in ministry, with the misogyny. You know, they don't feel like a woman should be in leadership. You know, they base it on scripture, which is text proofing, and they're basing on what Paul said, that a woman should be silenced in the church. And what they failed to realize is they didn't read the whole context, and you have to get to the backstory. If you do the exegetical work, you understand that the women in the church were emasculating their husbands, and Paul wanted them to be respectful, because in that male patriarchic society, the women had to let the man lead, even though they might have great and strong opinions, but he did not want them to disrupt and emasculate their men. So a lot of pastors, my male counterparts, they have used that to pretty much beat us down and pretty much tell us, you get back in your place. But they failed to realize that it was a woman that went to the tomb, the empty tomb, and she was the one that shared the message first. She went back to the 12, the other disciples, which were men that a lot of them scattered. You know, it was only 2, John and Peter denied him. But they forget the story about how the angels communicated the message to the woman first. And then they forget about the woman at the well, how Jesus communicated the message to the woman. And as a result, she was able to go back to her community and share the good news.
Yes, yes.
You know, so you have to know who you are in Christ Jesus. Just like the woman at the well, I relate so well to that parable, because this woman had been through some traumatic stuff. All we highlight is the husbands, how many men that she's been with, but you don't know how she got there. She could have been sold in human trafficking.
Right.
And they just passed her from one man to the next. She could have been abused by somebody in her family, and she didn't feel like she was worthy. This woman did the best that she could, but this is what I love about God. He made a detour to let her know her worth and her value.
Yes, yes.
And so as women in leadership, you got to know your worth and value, and know that you are a child of God and that you are chosen. And it's not going to be easy, because you're going to have your sisters trying to pull you down. You're going to have your male counterparts trying to pull you down. Systemic racism and various things in the community, especially as an African American woman. You're going to face so many obstacles, but you got to look at the end game. And if you can't help somebody along the way, then your living is not in vain. So you got to help someone. So it took courage for me to be authentic, to tell my story. And my story helps those that are incarcerated.
Yes.
And I am selling my book right now, and I've gone to 2 or 3 churches, and they make them aware, it's not for me to get rich. This is so that I can send 750 copies of my book to the women at Dayton Correctional Institute, so that they can see that they can too also become successful. And we have to make sure we stay in our lane and not try to compare successes with successes.
Right.
Don't compare my success with your success.
Exactly.
If you graduated from high school and nobody in your family graduated from high school, you are a success. If you held down a job and didn't depend on the system, and you had generation of women and men that relied on the system, and you kept a job and retired, you are a success. So you can't compare your successes with somebody else's success. Just know where you have come from, and know where God is leading you, and be authentic and share your story, and don't be ashamed.
Don't be
because
ashamed.
we all have a story. We all have history. Dr. I forgot her name. What's her name?
Tiffany Porter.
Dr. Tiffany Porter, when she would say she was a teen mom or unwed mom, you know, sometimes as unwed moms, they put that stigma on us. You know, like we weren't worthy, we will never amount to anything. But she's a living testimony that where she began, where she started is not where she ended. And God is going to use her story and her journey to help someone along the way. So don't be afraid to share your story. You know, I put all my business out in this book. I'm telling it all. I told the story.
Yes.
Because my story will help somebody. And I've had men, I've had women just give me feedback on this book. It was just, I did my book signing on Valentine's Day, because that was always a traumatic time for me. But I've had men and women that said, I can't put this book down. And so they start telling their stories, because after each chapter, I have a journal, because it's going to bring up some things when you're reading this story. And so after you read my first chapter of unpacking your past, that gives you an opportunity in the journal. You unpack your past. So we have to be authentic. Don't be afraid to share your story, and just be true to who you are, and know that God has called us in this season to help someone along the way.
Being that authentic self and not being afraid, because the more you tell your story, the less power it has over you. And you're right, because Dr. Porter, she brought up a big point there. And Dr. Porter, you can chime in too. You know, that stigma that's being attached, no one knows that journey. And she is a miracle, because so many odds have been stacked against her. Dr. Porter, would you like to share any of your obstacles or things that help you gotten through your obstacles?
Absolutely. And, you know, I just really appreciate the opportunity to, you know, share that, you know, things are possible, you know, if we stay the course and if we keep our faith, that anything is possible. And, you know, like you said, I am, you know, a miracle, because I'm still alive, you know, after going through so many different, you know, traumas, you know, in my life. Even when I was born, you know, my mom was 14 years old when I was born. And so she had to endure stigma. She told me that they made her stand up in front of the church and tell the congregation that she was pregnant with me, and how shamed, you know, she felt. So, you know, I remembered that, and I didn't want to feel that myself. Yet I do think that sometimes we do things reflexively. You know, we think that's the right thing to do. But I believe that if we wrap our arms around people in love, that is going to be more powerful than, you know, making someone feel, you know, bad about, you know, their experiences. So, like I said, when I left Colorado, my mom basically disowned me. So, you know, I didn't have her support for a very, very long time. And I had to start with nothing, you know, absolutely nothing, maybe $300 a month, you know, I was getting from, you know, child support from my son's father, but that's all I had. But I knew that, you know, faith in God is important, and that gives us the faith in ourselves, you know, and so I knew that if I kept moving forward, I didn't know and see the light at the finish line, you know, yet I know that every step that I took was moving me closer, you know, to being someone that can say, hey, I have been there. I have been without, you know, parental support. I've had to raise children on my own, and, you know, putting myself through school, and, you know, being the only, you know, raisin in the oatmeal in a lot of places, and how, you know, difficult it is because they don't want us there. You know, you know, psychology from my perspective is God's work. It is God's work, because we are helping to pull people away from that cliff. And we do it with, you know, kindness and empathy and hope. You know, the same things that, you know, we use with our overall, you know, faith. It is, it's our, you know, our ministry too. It's just a little bit different in how we do it. You know, even going through health issues at 35, I couldn't believe it. And, you know, I know, Tawana, you remember that morning when we had to go to OSU, and how I was just frozen, just stuck, you know, and you almost had to literally push me, to move forward. And it was in that moment that I knew that I wasn't alone. I knew that I was gonna be okay. I didn't know how I was gonna be okay though. And so was it easy? No way. I was 35, I was in a good place in my life. And, to have had, my breast, change and, going through 22 weeks of chemo, losing my hair, my kids thinking, that I'm gonna, pass away. It was a rough time. And again, I'm a single mom. So, my oldest son, his dad was in Afghanistan at that time. So he couldn't, be of help. My mom came a little sporadically, but it really was, people, angels really, that stepped into my life, to pour into me so that I could, reach this stage of life. And I'm just so, grateful, for it. So, hasn't been easy, absolutely not. It has not been easy. As you said, the systemic racism is just terrible, right? So, you were so close on the stats. So I think it's 1% of Black women are psychologists. 3% overall are Black psychologists. And in graduate school, there's only 5 to 6% of students that are from our communities.
And we need to get that, more people that look like us. So what I heard from Dr. Bridget, she said you have to be authentic. What I heard from you, Dr. Porter, is you have to have that support and knowing that you have that friendship and love that let you know everything is gonna be okay, having that community. So, Miss Toni, would you share with us another little jewel? I know you have, what are some things that you've had to overcome just on your journey and continue your strength today?
Well, I wanted to not recap, but double back on what Dr. Porter said. Do I look this way or that way? Can she see me this way?
This way. Look at me. This way. Yeah.
Okay. So, do you see the light now?
I saw that light, a long time ago, and I stayed the course, right? There were 2 books that I read that really changed the game for me, and both of them have such a spiritual and nurturing aspect to it. The one was written like in 1940 something, and it's called Hind's Feet on High Places. And it talks about the story of a young woman named Much Afraid. And she had people around her who didn't believe in her. And she felt like she was disfigured. And, the shepherd comes along and says, walk with me. I promise, I can make you whole. And I remember, sitting there in chemo, just crying. And, then by the end of it, I felt really empowered because I kept moving forward. So, yes, ma'am, I am grateful to see, the light, 14 years later. It seems like it's such, a part of my past, yet it was not easy. It was very, very difficult.
So if I'm understanding the question right, you want to talk about my obstacles, like how did I get where I'm at now, right? Because when I'm talking, I like to go back to that person that did not see no light, just seen the dark. Because when we're reaching them, they don't want to see where we at now. I know I didn't. I wanted to see, how did you get there? What did you do? I need to know the first step, to be honest, So, can I honestly say do I see the whole light right now? No, because it's still a fight. I'm still living. I'm still living. But I guarantee you that I'm going to continue to go forward, and I'm not thinking about going backwards. Why? Is because I know what's back. So when I'm referencing back to what it took for me, that first step, I tried to kill myself 3 times. And I feel that. I don't want to lose that feeling, if that makes sense. I don't want to lose it. I feel every time I go, because I ran from it for a very long time. I go into my home, I feel that darkness. I don't feel it no more. Not at all. I felt that darkness. I couldn't move, I couldn't breathe. I had 3 children. What? No, I don't want y'all. Just everything. But I realized, I was beat up mentally, physically, verbally, and emotionally, right? And I just realized not a full week ago that it's the fight I enjoy. I'm all in on a fight. You put my back against the wall, I'm fighting. I'm gonna win every time. It's that win. I don't know how to take. I feel unworthy for some reason. Who am I to even be in this position? You never seen this position. What's going on? Like, are you even like mentally stable there? Can you handle that? So it's always that. So when I talk to people, and I'm talking to myself back then too, and my children, that you're gonna have all that, even in success. Whatever your success looks like, because I don't focus on nobody else's success. What I focus on is building a village, because that village is what got me out of that place that I was able to fight a little bit, just a little bit. And once I got that little bit of fight, I started being able to, and God aligns you with, I start changing what I pray and ask, can you align me with the people for your purpose, not mine? Mine is survival. And then now I'm asking for freedom. You know what I mean? So in that, just not even killing myself made me change. Well, I said killing myself. I didn't kill myself, so I'm still here, but trying 3 times, going to prison, thinking that I was that person they told me in prison, that you an animal. You're not going to do nothing. We build it, you will come. Y'all all will come. Treating you like that. Even though I was smart, just graduated from high school, And I'm like, dang. And then put back in the same environment, right? None of that stuff was still able to tap into me. My abuser, I started getting Bible studies, because I would look at a person like you and be like, I want that. I didn't care about you. I thought it was money because I was in poverty, but it wasn't poverty. I wanted your peace. How did I get that peace? I need that peace. How do I get that? It was easy for it to roll off your tongue. God. How do I get God? What are you talking about? You know what I mean? What does that look like? I know what it looks like, but how do I get there? Like so I be mindful of just telling my story. I like to tell the steps of how to get to, how I got to my story. Is that I remembered in my home, I was just tired. I felt defeated, embarrassed, stupid, unworthy. And I remember my abuser, I started getting Bible studies, and the abuser would come home while I'm getting Bible study. Start smoking weed, turn the music up loud, and cussing, and I just realized, like, you know what? He's just a mere image of how you feel about yourself. That was one of the hardest things I had to do. So I would say to anyone who's in that realm, remind yourself, look at yourself in the mirror. I had these affirmations that I made up. I can. No, I actually started saying I forgive myself in the mirror. Oh, it was tough. I couldn't look at myself. I was hurting, I'm crying. I normalized the pain, and we don't supposed to. Pain isn't meant for us to normalize it. It's meant for us to accept it, embrace it, and move forward and take that experience and keep going so you can share with the next. But I normalized it. I suppressed it so much, I started getting numb to pain. I don't even think I know how to cry, seriously. So you have to be, when I sat in that mirror, away from those thoughts in my head is what was drowning me. Those thoughts, those negative thoughts, it was just going and going and going and going, and it would not stop. And I look at myself in the mirror and I said, I forgive you. But it was not that clear. It was not that easy. Did I look straight forward? No. It was like, I forgive you.
Right. So
but I vowed to myself that I continue to do it.
Yeah. Go ahead.
And it's a process. It is a process. You know, you're gonna have those moments where you feel like you're not worthy.
You still have them.
Yeah, I don't care how successful you are.
Yes.
I mean, you hear stories all the time about individuals who are very successful. You know, they have the life that you're striving for, and they kill themselves. You know, and you don't understand.
Right.
You
How'd
have
you do that?
everything. You have everything. So why are you doing this?
Because they don't have the peace.
They don't have peace. And that's the key. I mean, when you have peace, you have everything.
Yes. And those battles come a little bit easier with the peace because you choose your battles wisely. And you like, no. So that's when I stepped into it. I didn't step all the way into myself. And I'm like, I always wanted to be a realtor. And I remember, like in my family, the Holmes last name is normally in some type of system, you know, including me, right? And I'm like, you don't see really no good into it. And I remember sitting and well, the TV was watching me sitting in my living room. The TV was watching me, and I heard Holmes. I'm like, who done got in trouble on TV, you know? But it was a good, it was something impactful. And I was like, who doing an impactful thing? Last name Holmes. Real estate agent, shout out to Tammy Holmes. And I remember at that moment, I said, I'm coming to get my name, Tammy Holmes. And it wasn't that I was in competition with, because I see no competition. My competition is who I see every day, all day, and go to sleep with. It's me. That's right. Absolutely. So, as I started proceeding to do that, I got knocked off my heels because someone I reached out to was a realtor. I asked, like, they said, "Oh, you a felon? You can't do it." And I let those words stick with me for years. I didn't even proceed. I didn't go check into it or anything. I didn't even proceed. I just believed it.
Roadblock.
Yep, roadblock. I believed it. You know why I believe it? Because it was so many roadblocks. I couldn't get housing. You know what I mean? I was forced as a kid to be paying regular rent. I wasn't ready for that stuff. I mean, all these roadblocks, I just like, okay, I believe you. She's in a position that she looks like she knows she's talking about. Yes,
right.
Expert. So I don't like when people call me expert, because I'm not an expert. I learn from each and every person, every encounter I learn from. Every encounter, a baby to an elderly to a homeless person to I listen. I listen. I really do. So so when they said that, I'm like, okay. So I got tired of believing what everybody say about me. I started changing my name so people could stop. They'll love me, and then they'll research me, and then they start acting mean towards me, or act like, oh, she don't, you know. So I battled with that. How do I knew I wasn't meant to be in this environment, right? Because they was beating me up.
Right, and you accepted it.
And I devalued myself because I felt like this environment was not welcoming. So for a very long time, I got tired of devaluing myself, and I stayed right here by myself for a very long time. The very first person, and this is why I would tell anyone, the very first person I contacted that was different from me, that was doing different things for me, and I didn't even know until years later that she was actually raised in the hood like me, that I would talk to her. She went to school with me. She thought I was homecoming queen and stuff. She thought I was just like a snooty and no, I was battling with and I would say what helped me is finally telling myself that I deserve more, and I'm going to contact Reverend. I don't care if she don't know me or not. Can we be friends?
Yes.
Like seriously.
Connection.
And it took that connection. And from that connection, you know what she did?
Empowered you.
She empowered me. She was connected in the community. Shout out to These Deals, the Black-owned thrift store, Zante Richardson. She connected me with her connections. We started having Make a Sound organization. It created from all this pain and stuff, because I figured I wasn't the only woman. I got tired of feeling like I was the only one of domestic violence and all that. I got tired of feeling like it was just me. So I created this organization, and I went to her. Hey, you know, we started having cancer and pampering parties once a month. I mean, once every year annually, and we still have them. for cancer survivors and people who still in it. You know what I mean? Just to pamper them. All day. And we did our focus. I wanted to do more on domestic violence, but we had to, break that down because, like some people
It's a
being
lot.
hiding
It's
and
touching.
all that
So-
stuff. Well, not really too much touching, but breaking it down to some people be
If you
hiding
open
and
that
stuff.
worm, if you open that can up, you got to be able to close it.
Yes.
A lot of people don't realize that. We want to help, but we got to be careful and know our expertise. That's why I call on the doctors, because guess what? I can only help you get this far, but this doctor can help you further based on your expertise. Because a lot of times people pass bad information.
Yeah.
We want good information, healthy information, uplifting. So what I'm hearing from all of you is I hear you have to be authentic, true to yourself. You have the community. You have to ask for support. You can't just be in this little closed box, but when you do reach out, I hear reaching out, I have to network. That's right. So in order for me to get to know things, I got to go knock on some doors. Hey, I need some more information.
And not give up on when you get told no.
And keep going.
And
'cause I
keep
hear-
going. Keep going. Because you'll get told no for sure. But you have to understand. See, my vision is, you don't see my vision.
Right.
I can tell you all day long about my story, about my vision, what is to come and everything, but you will not see it. And sometimes people don't believe it, right? But what happens when they don't believe it? Do you supposed to give up on your vision?
Because God didn't give them the vision. God
Yeah,
gave you the
Absolutely.
vision. It's-
Absolutely.
He gave you the
So
vision.
you have to start striving hard for your vision, because I guarantee you for sure, it's experience, and I'm a witness, I'm a testimony. When you start walking in your truth and you start seeing nothing but your vision, you know who can connect with you? Tawanda. You know who she's going to bring? Her village. Each and every one of us has a village, and they look different, talk different, smell different, walk different, everything, right?
Yeah.
So when you have that, you have to stay focused on your vision and create that bond with God. Whoever spiritually that you worship,
Or believe in, yeah.
yes, and believe in, please make that connection, because that's the key for sure.
So connection. We are down to our last 8 minutes. You guys will not believe it. We're about to wrap.
Hello, my name is Jay Shawn McClendon. I'm the granddaughter of Renee McClendon, who's the director of McClendon Institute for Learning. And to the left of me is Mama Olabisi, who is a retired educator. And we are going to discuss women making history.
In 1983, we opened up McClendon Institute, and actually 2 years later is when we actually started teaching. We started preschool to 3rd grade after I brought the children from my home where I was teaching to the building. Then we expanded to intermediate and then to the high school, working with high school children. My father knew that I really wanted to make a difference in the community, especially working with our Black youth that weren't getting some of the things that they needed in the public schools, especially the culture. And it was really hard for me to accept that my older children weren't getting things, and I had to reteach them at home and make sure that they got what they were getting. That's when I decided, let's open up the school. My father got the school, and that's how we began.
I also have the honor of introducing Mama Olabisi. Could you give us a brief introduction about who you are and what you have done?
Yes. I'm also called Mama Olabisi in the community. And I think that the parallel between the work that I've done and the work that Mama Renee is doing here in Dayton is just so remarkable. I was the director of an independent African-centered Shule, and Shule is the name for school. And it started in my home, and it was the same kind of development. It's like the Underground Railroad School, very, very determined to make it happen. Working in the community to pull the resources together to make it happen. And I was doing this down in Orlando, Florida, because that's where I've been living since the 70s. Well, when I moved to Dayton, I was just so excited to find out that there was a McClendon Institute right here in Dayton. And so I sometimes say, I don't feel like I move, I feel like I just transfer. Because when I got here, I found Mama Renee, and she was just doing everything. Dance classes, drum classes, quilling classes, rites of passage classes, drama, everything that you can think of, participating in the community festivals, the community events, bringing the African traditional drum call to the events, and just everything. It just made me feel right at home.
Thank you.
Good. I would like to give everyone an opportunity, at least 2 minutes, to share what you would like to see in the future, what you would like to have happen in our community, and maybe give another young lady or man inspiration to continue based on what you've shared here. So I'll start off and say, I would love to see the connection. I would love to see people connect, open up those doors to the village, and be willing to hear our elders again. They have so much to share, even when we forgot those elders. But being under tutelage, I learned so much by serving. To be a leader, they say you must learn how to serve. So I've been a servant for many years. So what would you tell someone? I would tell them to learn and serve, and you would learn so much more. Especially with our elders.
Hello, my name is Jayshawn McClendon. I'm the granddaughter of Renee McClendon, who's the director of McClendon Institute for Learning. And to the left of me is Mama Olabisi, who is a retired educator. And we are going to discuss women making history.
In 1983, we opened up McClendon Institute, and actually 2 years later is when we actually started teaching we started preschool to the 3rd grade after I brought the children from my home where I was teaching to the building. Then we expanded to intermediate and then to the high school, working with high school children. My father knew that I really wanted to make a difference in the community, especially working with our black youth that weren't getting some of the things that they needed in the public schools, especially the culture. And it was really hard for me to accept that my older children weren't getting things, and I had to reteach them at home and make sure that they got what they were getting. That's when I decided let's open up the school. My father got the school, and that's how we began.
What am I doing?
Next question. You're fine.
To the left, right to my left, I have the honor of introducing.
Okay.
One, two, and 3. You ready? 1,
Yes.
2, 3, go.
All right. I also have the honor of introducing Mama Olabisi. Could you give us a brief introduction about who you are and what you have done?
Yes. I'm also called Mama Olabisi in the community. And I think that the parallel between the work that I've done and the work that Mama Renee is doing here in Dayton is just so remarkable. I was the director of an independent African-centered Shule, and Shule is the name for school. And it started in my home, and it was the same kind of development. It's like the Underground Railroad School, very, very determined to make it happen. Working in the community to pull the resources together to make it happen. And I was doing this down in Orlando, Florida, because that's where I've been living since the 70s. Well, when I moved to Dayton, I was just so excited to find out that there was a McClendon Institute right here in Dayton. And so I sometimes say, I don't feel like I move, I feel like I just transfer. Because when I got here, I found Mama Renee, and she was just doing everything. Dance classes, drum classes, quilling classes, rites of passage classes, drama, everything that you can think of, participating in the community festivals, the community events, bringing the African traditional drum call to the events and just everything. It just made me feel right at home.
What would you like to share?
I would like to see our community respect one another.
Oh, yes.
I think we have lost respect for our heritage. We have lost respect for one another. And I just feel like we need to learn how to respect one another, be patient, and be our brothers and sisters keepers.
Yes.
You know, it's like each man or woman for their own. Everybody is trying to be the next billionaire. Everybody's trying to be that important person. You know, social media has pretty much destroyed our images because you see so much negativity on social media. You don't really get to see the good. And if there is good on social media, guess what? They will shut you down.
Ooh, say that.
They will gloss right over your goodness.
Say it again.
And because drama, people thrive on drama, but I would like us to be in harmony. I would like us to respect one another and then respect our heritage.
Yes.
Because we have lost value as African American men and women. That we don't understand the struggle because we never take time to learn our history. So if I had to share anything, learn your history, respect your sisters and brother, and know that we are all in this together.
Yes. All right. Dr. Porter, would you like to go? Are you still with us? There you are.
Yes, I am still with y'all. This has just been amazing to, you know, as, you know, women to have this moment of fellowship, and we have a common thread. And I think one of the issues as a community that we've had is that we've gotten away from the concept of community. Everyone is operating in their own like spaces, or people have like their phone to their face, so they're not seeing what's around them. And so, like I said before, COVID really had a huge impact in our community as it relates to mental health. And I really want to, you know, just shout from the rooftops, it is okay if you feel depression, if you experience anxiety, PTSD. There are those of us out here that can help you. You know, we are here along with faith leaders and things of that nature, persons of that nature, because we want people to know that you can move through this. You can move through this. And so don't be afraid. Don't feel like you're weak because you've experienced, you know, trauma in your life. Don't feel like you're weak because, you know, you've been sad for over 2 weeks, or that you shake when you walk into a room. Don't be ashamed of that. That tells me that you have been through some things and that you have wisdom.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Well, your realtor in blue, Tony House, will just leave you with this. I've just had brain surgery, and I realized the most challenging thing I had to do was to depend on other people. Understand the power of a village. Please understand the power of the village. Just because you see somebody smiling, problems don't go nowhere. They only leave when you die. You're alive. So understand the power of the village, and understand it is power in unity. That's all I'm gonna say. And you can survive and get out of it for sure. So it's not where you start, it's where you finish. And you can finish it for sure. It's you versus you.
Thank you so much. This has truly been an honor to have you beautiful ladies here. I would love to continue the discussion and share more about what you guys are doing in the community. You guys, if you want to reach out to them, we'll have information after this. But thank you so much, all of you, for sharing your life and being authentic today.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Yes, thank you.